Hey folks, welcome to Tuesday, the 21st of September 2021. We saw a lot of downside volatility yesterday, and we were down about 2.6%, I think, in DAX and SPOOs at one point, and now we're largely bounced 1.6 back up on the DAX, 1% up on SPOOs, 1.1% back up on Dow. It's really good. The dip was firmly bought there. The buying coming in the closing session really, I opened my charts at 8:30 last night. Then the buying was sustained into the close. A little gap up on the reopen of trade, 2300, or actually midnight on DAX is the reopen. And no such gaps on US equities, but yeah, firmly bought. I think we have a very quiet day for data this morning in Europe, with some small data to come out, housing starts and building permits out of the US half one today in this session. So, but I think this market really only has one thing in mind, and that was the dip to be bought. I think there is potential for us to have further downside in these US markets. Oil bounce as well on the reopen of trade. Let's have a look at these charts. So what you saw was that dollar really tapering off over that risk off tone. Uh, After yesterday, we kind of, got late into the session, like 4 p.m. The risk sort of went out of that dollar, and the euro did pick up its socks. So yesterday, during all of the downside, really, I mean, it was not that, it was quite contained, I'll say, on the euro. And it was certainly interesting looking at these longs and just did not have the temperament to wait for the picture to unfold on the euro. But now we are sort of firmly set to at least test the 17,630s. Cable is also availing of that sort of weaker dollar from the tail end of yesterday. It's sort of in a bear flag at the moment, but it's broken that pattern and looking at R1 now on the upside. And gold, yeah, gold really wasn't invited to the risk off party yesterday. If we go out on the daily picture here, I have been interested in shorts on gold, but I'm just not interested in trading gold itself. But for those of you who do like trading gold, I do like the short opportunities here from trend. We saw one, two, really three attempts since last Friday on this mega trend that we have in gold. I think, the break point, you can certainly use 1762 spot fours here. Those lovely low on the 29th of April, and also sustained trade on the 29th of June and 30th of June there. But we're largely holding above it really now on the daily bar. But you can see underneath in that daily bar, it's not all roses here. Really isn't all roses. So I'd expect a little bit more selling to come in on this trend. And if we can't grab it there, and you have a resurging dollar pushing back up, well then that's going to be capping gold, and we're going to trade down through towards the S1 today, well below that 17.6 2.4. Going across to these US equities now, we can see on NASDAQ here on the 60-minute, if I'll just actually I'll go out to the daily here to really give you an idea of what we saw on this thing. What were we down yesterday? Let me get the calculator out. The breadth of yesterday was 3.46% from top to bottom, and we have now largely from that bottom we've bounced 2.3%. So totally up 0.9 on this session since 2300 hours last night. But since the lows of yesterday to the high of today, we're up 2.4%. So, the dip buyers are there for sure. Coming in, I think, let's see, where did we start this? Yes, 7:30 last night we started that dip buying. You could be waiting for that 14,883s level to kind of come in on support. And then you just would have seen a bit of a rush on that level late last night, then pushing up in the what was this, in the the 8:30 session. So really 8:30 through to the 9 o'clock and 9:30 markers. just nothing but buying all the way here. Lovely, really nice trades, really big trades to be getting on there. They're not always in the markets to be had, but once you have those big down days, with this level of QE, sitting out there, it's very hard to kind of try and get on the short continuation and try and continually sell this thing, especially, you don't want to be selling a market that's down 2.3%, and thinking you're going to get another 2.3% on the continuation. It's just seldom seen, and you're really, really making life difficult for yourself and going against trend, at on that sort of occurrence. So let me just firm up that level there. So yeah, I mean, I think we can continue to print higher on Nasdaq, given that we've seen some decent lows yesterday. I think I'll be looking at this 15,235s, which is a big Fibonacci level on the overall swing from the COVID lows. That would be the first destination for me, I think, for this. But I think we're going to have to put in a floor at the 50 EMA before we do that. Now, the breadth on this contract is huge. So, by comparison, if you get the SPOOs down like 1%, the NASDAQ can stretch its legs and go 2%, you know what I mean, in terms of correlations. But, we still have to tread this 100 EMA down here. What are we going to get? All-time highs or 100 EMA first? Answers on a postcard, please. That's not a question I'm going to attempt to try and answer at this time. I think the market could easily come back to the 15,325s. And if it did, I would be looking at a short off of that area then to at least calm down, come back to a bit more average pricing on the week, I think. Yeah, I'd be looking at a short there. I don't know if I'm in love with the long from the 15,117s. I think, 14,987s retest long. I would like that. But you can see here on the 60 minutes, I simply was in bed when that trade happened, flush down below here, 2 a.m. Nice trade to get on, and you'd be certainly working out a lot of that now. But yeah, I just don't know if I want to be buying a retest here. I'd rather be looking at that 14,987s down the bottoms. That test came at midnight on so pretty much the reopen trade here. Good buying, yeah. So, not easy to capitalize on the biggest moves we've seen so far on the Nasdaq. But I think there is opportunity in these markets given the range expansion that you're seeing since yesterday. SPOOs, looking over at the SPOOs, let's see on the daily here. We'll just blow this one up. It's clean. It's super clean. The 100 EMA test pretty much. I mean, look, we've been looking at this level since yesterday. We were looking at it live in the trade room yesterday. It wasn't actually trading during the UK session, I don't think. But sure enough, late in the session last night, that final hour of trade, just everyone just piling in on the bottom, driving price up into the close. And what you're seeing now is a market that looks all intent on testing the 50 EMA again as resistance as it was yesterday, pretty much. You really have to fight to get that pricing, I think, to be able to, it all looks super simple on the daily bars, right? Super simple, but it's another thing kind of trading that in real time. And that 50 EMA test really yesterday to get short, that came in at 2 a.m. Pushes down. I'll put it on here. Pushes down at this point here, 1 a.m. You get that pullback 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and this just went one-way traffic down into the 100 EMA testing there. First test really to the tick was 7:30, flushed down a little bit. We can kind of measure what that was. The flush to the 100, and then where we are now, market. So you took on 47 ticks of risk there. Well, you would have needed a stop bigger than 47 ticks of risk there. And you'd be doing about let's say 7 to 1 at market right now in the trade. for 47 ticks. That's not too bad in terms of risk reward profile. Um, we are in this knotted area that I was monitoring yesterday for everyone. Some of you probably do remember that we were in this sort of shaded gray area. We came up into here on the, let's see, actually, because I've rolled this contract, I'll have to redraw it as sort of this area here. I forgot to roll this drawing, and I think it was something a little bit like this, if I recall. So we were looking at, yeah, really where we had this tiny little gap up on trade on the, oh, sorry, hold on a sec. We'll just get that there. Gap up on trade in the reopen on Friday, 23rd of July. And we just monitored for like a good 2 weeks, 3 weeks, really, how the market really traded within this range, right? And lovely opportunities to buy here around the 20 EMA at the time. But you'll see, as we tried to get above here, tried to hold, but eventually we simply couldn't. And if it just kind of fast forward in time here, I remember we were definitely looking at this trade on the 17th of August. It's that sort of, breaking out, holding, right? Market wants to get imbalanced and goes up, and then we just get this pull down on the 20 EMA. Another opportunity there to get on that trade. Really nice activity, but failed testing the 50. And as we know, the market has since demolished that area. But I'm still monitoring this area because, just from a supply and demand point of view, we could use this trade to kind of get into shorts or longs. If we're kind of in just what is kind of a blue ocean area. So yeah, that's about it on the SPOs. So what I'm not really putting out calls on these markets. So, but I talk about what I do like. I think what I said this morning was, push back to the 50, 4409s. It seems push to there. We could even push to the 20 EMA, but then I think, with FOMC to come tomorrow evening, I think we could easily get stuck in a knot here. Or we simply, in today's session, we simply just find the buyers in this zone, 43.59 and a half and 43.74 and a half. We just find those buyers and we just keep pushing. It's really that they're the only two options really for me for this market that I would use to trade. And everything else, I think it's just going to be super messy in that area. Okay, let's just lock that chart down, zoom in. Yeah, I can't help but think that we are going to come back into resistance in this area over the coming days now of trade. 20 EMA, 50 SMA, 50 EMA. Actually, I'm going to hide the SMA there. That was just on for a squawk reference. So I'll just hide that one. Yeah, I think, but look, base case is we've dipped and we're going back up. On the Dow, moving across here to the Dow again, yeah, coming back out of those lows. I didn't actually note this reference yesterday, the low of the 19th of July, marking the bottom of trade. Now we're back to the 100 EMA, so we're up 1% on the bounce today on the market pre-Europe or pre-US. So this is really nice activity. I think we can easily push to the 50 EMA on the Dow, but it is going to need its brethren, the Nasdaq and the SPOs, to show some of that continual confidence in these markets. Interesting. Yesterday, the US has now come back and has lifted the ban on UK and European travelers. So I think there's quite a lot of interest there for holding the aircraft carriers, the airliners, the travel stocks, and that could be a nice temporary lift for these equity markets for the next week or so. So let's see what we can get out of the Dow. I firmly think dips to the 232.81 or 891 will be wholly supported. You're talking about like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. Everyone's talking about 10% correction off the top. They're more so looking at SPOOs when they're talking about that, but 10% correction, that's going to put us right about here. Okay, so just this little area here, 32,233s. Um, yeah, I wouldn't normally be a person to listen to a lot of that commentary, um, but fine. I think it's prudent to have some of their price targets on your chart to kind of show you what you might be, missing out on. I think, being contextually aware is one of the most important things you have to do as a trader for sure. Oil, yeah, it's been an interesting one on oil. Dip bought up in the overnight session for us, and we're now back to sort of a trend that I'd actually had on my prior month's contract. But since I rolled to the November 21 contract, I actually forgot to roll my trend, and sure enough, we traded into here. Yeah, that's fine, but I mean, R1 is the target, and I think we will trade 71, 72s today on the bounce for oil. I have been looking at this trend, return to trend around the S2s has also been interesting for the last week really. So kind of waiting for that clean retest on 69.38, maybe scalp along out of that one, and then look at the S2 here to get in along for a bit more upside in oil. We've also been looking at nat gas in the room, so do log in and subscribe if you are interested in trading nat gas. Trades I like in oil today. I don't know. I really do want a pullback. 70.44s. I want to see if that holds the bid again. And if we put in some excess below on the 15s and then close the candle at the 70 spot 44s, yeah, I'd definitely be interested in taking along and targeting 71 spot 72s. Not so interested in the downside at the moment. Um, and that's it. Yeah, gold, before I go, gold has been really, as I said, left out of the party. It's getting a bid now. So I'm actually not trading gold. I think the picture is just as clear. It's as clear as, a bottle of mud at the moment. So I don't like it. Um, and bonds as well. Yeah, like the T notes, we were looking at this morning on the weekly. Um, Here is the weekly bar. I think you have this downtrend commenced from the top of the 3rd of August, week of the 3rd of August. Then you also got the week of the 28th of September. You've seen the excess highs into that trend here numerous times through July and October. And I think this market just can't really hold the bid here. And I think now that we've bought somewhat of a decent dip on equities, now I think people are just going to be selling down on these bonds with kind of very little on the risk radar to come. I don't think we're going to get fireworks out of Jerome tomorrow night, but who knows? I'm not gonna try and front run that guess. All right, so that is it for me for today's pre-US session. Do hit the subscribe button in YouTube if you're watching this later on today. And feel free to join us in the Discord community where we're trading these events live. So we will be covering the FOMC live in the Discord Pro Trader room only tomorrow night, and looking forward to see what we can get. All right, have a good session, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Cheers.